Good morning. This is Angela with a cup of tea on Thursday, September 8th, 2011. I have this conversation no less than 2 or 3 times a week. And when the topic first came to me for today, I didn't connect it until I had 3 other things sort of dump in after it. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Especially because I'm having this conversation over and over and over, and it's becoming more and more top of mind for many people. And that's typically what happens. How it starts is I'll be in a conversation with someone, and they will say, well, what about what's going on with all these world things that are like getting all freaky? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And it can be any of, I'll list a number of things that have come up. One is the comet Elenin that's been in the news. The brown dwarf, or the other sun that is in our solar system, the shifting of our poles on the planet, as well as all of the natural catastrophes, the natural disasters that are happening. And then there's all other zillion things: alien invasion, governmental, like one world government taking mind control, all this kind of stuff. But it all depends on what you believe. But you know what? What I always tell people, and I get that this is very important to talk about right now, and that's to stay in peace within yourself. And that is why I talk so much about the essentials of clearing out the chatter and tapping into your higher self. Because what's the chatter doing? The chatter is asking these questions. The chatter is saying, oh my God, what happens if the poles shift? Oh my God, what happens if, we have like these huge climate changes? And what happens if there is a brown dwarf in our solar system that changes our gravitational pull and throws us into chaos and kills us all? And so I just say, well, what if? When we work with clearing out beliefs and fears, anxieties, regrets, rejections, resentments, when somebody asks something like that, what that comes down to is, what if I die? And I don't call it dying, I always call it transitioning, because my understanding, and I firmly have seen so much proof of this, that there's just no real death. We just transfigure, we just transform and transition into another form. So if you believe in multiple lives, which I do, in fact quite a few I've had, quite a many, I'm like, so what if we do? And it sounds like a really wild thing to say, because a lot of times after that I'll get, especially parents, they're afraid for their kids. I mean, I'm a parent too, so I understand. But here's the thing. Yes, we are going through this period of huge change on this planet. And I've said this time and time again. And that's what I mean when I'm talking about not just energetically and not just spiritually, but there's a lot of science overlapping that. There's all of this discussion on us in our solar system coming into what they call the photon belt in the galaxy, which by nature allows us to lighten in density, which would naturally lead us to an ascension or to a much more expanded consciousness, because our density then lightens too. But that's a whole discussion for another day. And what's really, really important here, and what comes down to the core of this, is learning again to listen to our higher selves, our expanded consciousness. I say it time and time again, I can't say it enough. We have all the answers. We're part of the divinity. We can tap into it and we can get the answers unfiltered, unveiled, if we practice, when we practice and when we are clear and when we listen to them. And this is really important and ties together because of this. I just listed 5 things that are on top of people's minds, and I hear all this stuff all the time. I see it on the internet, I see it on emails and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And so does everybody else. It's only going to get more chaotic from here. We do have a lot of things going on. We do have a lot of shifting going on physically within this earth as well as the other stuff. And so think about it. Say we had 5 or 6 huge topics going on in the news or going on in our world at the same time, like on a world scale. Who are you going to listen to? Who can you trust? Are you going to listen to the media, the government, the institutions, the religions, your neighbors, your mother, your spouse, your kids? Who are you going to listen to? How do you know who's going to have, the highest and best answer for yourself? That is why it is so important to be able to connect up and quiet the chatter. Because then you don't have to ask anybody else the questions, because you know you have all the answers, and you know you have a trustworthy source to go to yourself and ask, what's going on? What's the best for me? Should I move? Should I leave where I am? Should I take my family elsewhere? There's so many items. And the other thing that I tell people is, once you start doing that and you have that trust built up, then you gain more peace within yourself. So, I get this message a lot from my guides on being the peace, stay being the peace and the calm in the storm. And a lot of people, and I've told people that up until like about a month or two ago, they'd be like, well, what do you mean the storm? Why do we have to have a storm? Why does it have to be such a negative connotation? Well, it's never felt like a negative connotation when I've gotten that message. It's always just felt like it is what it is, and it's something that's coming up. And I always felt like it was a lot of chaos, and now I sort of understand. We have all this stuff culminating at the same time. Who are you going to listen to? We're in such a habit, we're in such a habit of disempowering ourselves and listening to other people that, again, we're coming back to the point of the best and highest for us is to listen to ourselves, to listen to our higher selves, not the ego, not limiting ourselves. And it's not that we don't love the ego, because the ego is part of our function in our full 12 levels of consciousness. But the higher self that has that full view of the whole game. And there are some times when we can't see the bigger picture. Even those of us who have been practicing for a long time and tapping into the expanded universe and tapping into all beings of higher vibration, to our higher selves, to our I am self, to the divinity, there are still times, no matter who you are, where you can't see the whole picture. And yet you might be guided strongly to do something, and you don't understand why. If it is from the higher self, and you can test it if it's from the higher self, if it has no ego attached to it, if there's no emotion that gets really kicked off, like any negative emotion from it, if it's a very calm, serene, matter-of-fact voice, listen to it and just trust that you know that you're going in the right direction. Because any direction is direction, it's movement. And what happens is, once you start moving, you'll be guided. Once you start moving, it's sort of like somebody will take your higher self will take your hand, and even though you might start off in a direction that might be veering off from what is for the highest and best for you, your higher self will find a way to guide you back. So, a year ago, I went up to Pilot Mountain, which is not too far from here, and it's a energy portal, an awakening energy portal, and got some very clear messages. And one of the clearest I got was step in faith. And I thought, what's step in faith? I mean, it's not here in church or whatever. But those 3 words have become so significant to me in the past year, especially because I have learned to trust that my higher self knows the way, that I'm tapped into my expanded consciousness, and that sometimes I get little glimpses of what's coming, but I don't really get the whole picture. Sometimes I do get the whole picture, but it's out of context and I don't understand it. So there have been plenty of times where I've even said to myself and to my guides, whoa, no, I don't see it. I don't see how it fits. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I hear the shh, just have faith and trust in yourself. Trust in us. We're going to get you there. And you want it for your highest and best, and with the most grace and ease, and balance and harmony, and joy and fun. And that's the way we're going. Just trust. So when you can do that, then you sort of can tap back into that peace and within. Because when you do trust, and then you realize it is going to be for my highest and best. It is the way I want it to be. And if you set your intention that my path to my spiritual enlightenment is with grace and ease and balance and harmony and joy and fun and excitement, then you can throw it out there and let go of the reins and know that you can manifest, that it's manifesting for you, that the universe is conspiring to help you get there. So anyway, lots to think about, and just the tip of the iceberg on this topic. So have a great weekend. This is Angela with a Cup of Tea.